Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news tonight on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates 5th edition of the Global Conference on Cyberspace, launches Umang application to provide over 100 government services on a single platform. Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe meets Prime Minister Narendra Modi. India and Sri Lanka agreed to expand cooperation in many areas, including the infrastructure sector. Election Commission allots 2 leave symbol to AIADMK faction led by Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Palaniswamy and Pannir Selvam. Rules that rival Shashikala faction does not have majority support. And India protests against the release of 26/11 Mumbai attacks mastermind Hafiz Saeed from house arrest. Says the court verdict confirms Pakistan's lack of seriousness on acting against terror groups. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the 5th edition of the Global Conference on Cyberspace in Delhi today. He also launched an app called Umang that will provide over 100 services of the centre and state government on one single platform.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday inaugurated the biggest ever global conference on cyberspace in the country.
Reiterating the transformative and inclusive fabric of our collective digital India efforts and the journey towards...
Calling cyber attacks a significant threat to democracy, he spoke of the need to train professionals to tackle them. The Prime Minister also felt that cyber protection must become a reliable career option.
We need to ensure that vulnerable sections of our society do not fall prey to the evil design of cyber criminals. Alertness towards cyber security concerns should become a way of life.
Stating that digital technology and empowerment through digital access is the aim of the government, the Prime Minister informed that it has saved around $10 billion so far by eliminating middlemen.
Financial inclusion through our Jan Dhan bank accounts. Second, the Aadhaar platform. And third, the mobile phone have greatly helped reduce corruption and broad transparency.
Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was also present at the event, underscored the need for a legal framework on cyberspace. Wickremesinghe is on a 4-day visit to India to boost bilateral ties.
Into the topic of creating and maintaining a safe, secure and inclusive cyberspace for all, that will in turn impact positively on sustainable development.
Information Technology Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad highlighted the role of privacy, but said it can't hold back innovation in cyberspace.
Privacy cannot become the shield of the corrupt, of the terrorists and the extremists. That's how we have to balance the whole idea.
The first global conference on cyberspace was held in 2011 in London. The theme for the current 5th edition of the conference is Cyber for All, an inclusive, sustainable, developmental, safe and secure cyberspace. More than 10,000 delegates from 123 countries are taking part in it.
As India is poised to become $1 trillion digital economy and lead the digital revolution in the world, the global conference in cyberspace hosted by India seeks to formulate and put across a robust cyberspace. The deliberations by international leaders, policy makers, industry and cyber experts would help us find solutions for challenges in the cyberspace. Reporting from Delhi, with camera person Manoj, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe met Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Hyderabad House in Delhi today. India and Sri Lanka are looking to expand their cooperation in the infrastructure sector. Both countries are also looking for ways to deepen their engagement in the fields of security and trade. On a 4-day visit to India to review initiatives in mutual cooperation, Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe on Thursday met Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Besides regional peace and terrorism, both leaders discussed areas to further widen cooperation.
The two sides discussed the entire gamut of bilateral relations and ways to further deepen the historically close and friendly relations between the two countries. Prime Minister of Sri Lanka will return to Colombo on 24th November.
The Sri Lankan Prime Minister later met business leaders in Bangalore to seek cooperation in software technology.
I am also aware that India, the world's largest democracy with the second most populous internet user base, took a critical step in this direction when it issued regulations in February 2016 to ban zero rating, the practice where ISPs are given preferential treatment to selected services or applications, influencing the user experience and distorting competition.
The visiting dignitary also called on President Ramnath Kovind. The Sri Lankan Prime Minister's visit comes against the backdrop of China's efforts to carve a space for itself in the Indian Ocean region. It has invested heavily in the Hambantota port, but owing to the high cost of interest payments, Sri Lanka is opposing such initiatives by China. The cost advantage has given India a good chance to undertake similar infrastructure projects in Sri Lanka. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha Television. Well, moving on to some other news now. The Election Commission allotted the two-leaf symbol to the AIADMK led by Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Edappadi Palaniaswamy and his deputy O. Pannirselvam. In an 83-page order, the Election Commission said that the faction was backed by a majority of the party members. Palaniaswamy welcomed the development, calling it the happiest day of the party. AIADMK activists celebrated the news at the party headquarters in Chennai. The decision ended a months-long fight for the symbol between the two factions that included the Palaniaswamy-Pannirselvam group and ousted leader V.K. Shashikala.
It's a historic day in the pages of AIADMK. In fact, in the history of independent India, many parties have broken, their symbols frozen, but no party has got its symbol back. It is only AIADMK which had split, reunited and retrieved the symbol not once but twice.
Well, the President has given his assent to the ordinance to amend the bankruptcy code. With this, willful defaulters and entities whose accounts have been classified as NPAs will be barred from bidding for assets. The ordinance to amend the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016 aims to put into place safeguards to prevent unscrupulous persons from misusing or vitiating the provisions of the code. As per the ordinance, corporates, promoters and associate companies undergoing insolvency resolution or liquidation under the code would not be eligible for bidding for the stressed assets. The amended code also says that the committee of creditors should ensure the viability and feasibility of a resolution plan before approving it. The code that became operational in December last year provides a market-determined and time-bound insolvency resolution process. Over 300 cases have already been approved by the National Company Law Tribunal to be taken up under the law. Well, the President also cleared an ordinance amending the Indian Forest Act of 1927. The ordinance omits bamboo grown in non-forest areas from the definition of trees, thereby exempting it from requiring permits for felling or transportation. Before the ordinance was issued, the definition of tree in the Act included palm, bamboo, brushwood and cane. The move is aimed at encouraging bamboo plantations, which will contribute to achieving the objective of doubling the farmers' income by 2022. Well, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu concluded his Chennai visit today. Speaking to students, he had words of advice for the young minds at the SRM University. Let's take a look.
Addressing the convocation ceremony of the SRM University in Chennai, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu on Thursday described education as the most important element in converting our young population into national assets.
You must develop the students into an integrated personality to meet any challenge, physically strong, mentally knowledgeable, and also socially aware of his responsibility or her responsibility. Remember the great culture and traditions of this country, and remember the sacrifices that are made for the sake of this country by great people.
Praising demonetization and GST, the Vice President said reforms like these will propel India to the status of a major economic power.
to root out black money from the society. It's not a political issue. It's not for the politicians. It's for the entire society. The malady of corruption and black money, it has to be removed by all means. And different methods are there. There will be experiments and then there will be criticism this way or that way. Let the debate go on about demonetization, about GST, about all these things. Let the debate go on.
Underscoring the importance of the mother tongue, the Vice President said while students must learn new languages, they should speak their mother tongue at home to learn to express themselves better. With Panchanan Mishra, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Prasar Bharati turned 20 on Thursday. On the occasion, Prasar Bharati CEO Shashi Shekhar Vempati said that modernizing Doordarshan and Akashvani were his top priorities. Mr. Vempati also planted a sapling at the Todapur DTH Centre to mark the day. He also greeted the employees of the public broadcaster on the occasion. The Prasar Bharati, which runs the Doordarshan and All India Radio, is an autonomous body established under the Prasar Bharati Act and came into existence on November 23, 1997.
प्रसार भारती, दूरदर्शन, आकाशवाणी आर वेरी यूनिक कि जो विषय हैं उनका कंटेंट का जो फोकस है वो ऐसी चीज़ें हैं जो कमर्शियली कोई प्राइवेट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कभी नहीं करेगा। पर हमारे लिए चैलेंज ये है कि इस मैसेज को हम कैसे इंटरेस्टिंग रखें, एंटरटेनिंग रखें ताकि ऑडियंसेस आर एंगेज्ड, स्पेशली यूथ आर एंगेज्ड। तो प्रसार भारती एक स्टैच्यूटरी ऑटोनमस बॉडी है। इसका मतलब ये इट हैज़ बीन क्रिएटेड थ्रू एन एक्ट ऑफ पार्लियामेंट। तो संसद ने इसको एक अलग एक्ट से बनाया है और इसके अंदर जो पहले के दूरदर्शन और आकाशवाणी थे उनको इसके अम्ब्रेला के अंदर लाया था। ये 1997 में हुआ था। तो प्रसार भारती इज़ बेसिकली रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर बोथ दूरदर्शन फॉर टेलीविजन एंड आकाशवाणी जो रेडियो के लिए है।
Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Hello and welcome. I'm Amritan Shurai and you're watching Law of the Land.
The function of the Director of Estates is to protect the estates of the Government of India.
Logically, any law-abiding person should move out, whether he's a government retired or a political person.
So there is a time period should be provided for the estate officer also to conduct the inquiry.
Watch Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha television.
Mihir Sen, an outstanding and extraordinary saltwater swimmer of India. He is the first Asian to swim the English Channel way back in 1958. And just 8 years later, in 1966, he swam the 7 seas of the 5 continents in 1 calendar year, which etched his name in the Guinness Book of World Records. In 1959, he was also conferred the Padma Shri, and in 1967, he was awarded the Padma Bhushan.
I'm Dr. Ravi Mehrotra. I direct the National Institute of Cancer Prevention of ICMR, which is located at Noida. I'm going to talk about how more than 60% of all cancers occurring in our country are preventable. Please keep watching Eureka.
Ghatam, one of the oldest and most unique percussion instruments of southern India. You can play it not only with your fingers, but palms, wrists and heels as well. You'll be surprised, but the air inside the ghatam reverberates, creating the musical notes. 5 elements of nature, earth, water, air, fire and space make up the composition of this beautiful musical piece, which has found an apt place in most of the ancient books.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, the Indian Navy has got its first woman pilot. Naval officer Shubhangi Swaroop will soon fly maritime reconnaissance aircraft. Shubhangi, who hails from Uttar Pradesh, is the daughter of a naval commander. She will now be trained at the Air Force Academy in Hyderabad. 3 other women cadets, Ashta Sehgal from New Delhi, Rupa from Puducherry and Shakti Maya from Kerala, also created history by becoming the country's first women officers at the Naval Armament Inspectorate branch of the Navy. They were inducted on Wednesday at a passing out ceremony in the Indian Naval Academy in Kannur. Well, the Supreme Court on Thursday agreed to hear a fresh petition seeking direction to the makers of the film Padmavati not to release it outside India on December 1st. The bench agreed to hear the petition on November 28th. The petition alleged that the filmmakers misrepresented facts on getting the censor board's approval to release its songs and promos. Sanjay Leela Bansali's film was given a 12A rating by the British censor board that passed it for audiences in the UK without any cuts. Reports said that the producers are not planning to release the film without the Indian censor board's approval. In another development, the BJP government in Gujarat also banned the release of the film, citing law and order issues in the poll-bound state. 5 states, including Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, have already banned the film. Well, here's a roundup now of what else is making news across the country in our segment Nationwide. The killing of an investigative journalist in Tripura on Tuesday has sparked outrage with concerns about safety of media persons reporting from remote areas. Sudeep Datta Bhaumik, a senior reporter with the Bengali language daily Syandan Patrika, was the second journalist to be killed in the state in the past 2 months. As per police, the 52-year-old was shot dead by Tapan Debarma, the bodyguard of the TSR's 2nd Battalion commandant near the capital Agartala. The Supreme Court has refused to modify the centre's notification banning the use of furnace oil and pet coke in Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan and Haryana. The NTPC pleaded that immediate stoppage of furnace oil, which was being used in thermal power plants, will lead to blackout as the corporation was providing electricity to various states. The apex court asked the NTPC to approach the government. The long-awaited Hyderabad Metro Rail will soon roll out with driverless technology. The 4-kilometer-long stretch of the Metro Rail will be opened up for operations in 2 separate intersecting corridors. Hyderabad Metro Rail Corporation Managing Director NVS Reddy informed that the Commissioner of the Metro Rail Safety has recently sanctioned authorization for operations of the key stretch. Well, India today strongly reacted to the release of 26/11 Mumbai attacks mastermind Hafiz Saeed from house arrest by a Pakistani court. The Ministry of External Affairs said it confirms Pakistan's lack of seriousness on acting against terror groups. MEA spokesperson Ravish Kumar even called it Pakistan's attempt to mainstream proscribe terrorists.
It is evident that Pakistan has not changed its policy of shielding and supporting non-state actors, and its true face is visible for all to see. It is the responsibility of Pakistani government to fulfill its international obligations and take credible and effective against terrorists like Hafiz Saeed. India, as indeed the entire international community, is outraged that a self-confessed and a UN-proscribed terrorist is being allowed to walk free and continue with his evil agenda.
Well, the United States has already expressed its displeasure over the development, calling Hafiz Saeed a terrorist leader. The Trump administration said in May 2008, the United States Department of the Treasury designated Hafiz Saeed as a specially designated global terrorist. He was also individually designated by the United Nations in December 2008, following the November 2008 Mumbai attack. The United States reiterates its stance that the LET is a designated foreign terrorist organization responsible for the death of hundreds of innocent civilians in terrorist attacks, including a number of American citizens. Hafiz Saeed is the head of the banned Jamaat-ud-Dawa terror outfit. The Pakistani government put him under detention in January. A judicial review board of Pakistan's Punjab province ordered his release yesterday. Well, here are some updates from across the world in Global Buzz. Pakistani Finance Minister Rishak Dar was relieved of his duties today after he was declared a proclaimed absconder in the Panama Papers case. Dar sent a 3-page letter to the Prime Minister's office seeking leave of absence narrating his health condition. The government issued 2 notifications after Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahid Khan Abbasi approved Dar's leave application. Zimbabwe's new leader Emerson Mnangagwa arrived in Harare to be sworn in as the new president on Friday. Addressing a gathering, he said that the country was entering a new stage of democracy after Robert Mugabe's removal as president. He also invited citizens to work with him to improve the economy, create jobs and stamp out corruption. Mnangagwa had been out of the country since he was sacked by Mugabe. More than 6,000 Rohingya Muslim refugees are stuck on a narrow strip of land on the Myanmar-Bangladesh border. Half of the small stream that divides the border belongs to Myanmar and the other to Bangladesh. They fled to the edge of Myanmar, escaping Buddhist mobs and the Myanmar military. Myanmar has since built a fence to prevent these people from going back to their villages. Russian President Vladimir Putin held talks with Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Iran's President Hassan Rouhani in Sochi. The leaders discussed a diplomatic solution to the conflict in Syria. After the talks, Putin announced plans to host a Syrian Peace Congress. In a joint statement, the 3 leaders called on the Syrian government and moderate opposition to participate constructively in the planned Congress, which is to be held in Sochi. Moving on to some sports news now, the organising committee for FIFA competitions announced spots for the final draw of the FIFA World Cup 2018. The teams are divided into 4 pots, each containing 8 teams. Pot 1 contains the highest ranked teams, while Pot 2 contains the next highest ranked teams. Pot 3 contains the second least ranked teams and Pot 4 with the least ranked teams. Pot 1 has Russia, the World Cup hosts, Argentina, who has entered 3 finals in 3 years, Belgium, the first European nation to qualify for the 2018 World Cup, Brazil, France, Germany, Poland and Portugal. Pot 2 contains Colombia, Croatia, England, a team which has some youthful talent, Mexico, who have made it to the last 16 at every World Cup since 1994, Peru, who entered their first World Cup in 36 years, Spain, Switzerland and Uruguay. Pot 3 has Costa Rica, Denmark, who demolished Ireland 5-1 in the playoffs, Egypt, Iceland, which became the smallest country ever to take part in the World Cup finals, Iran, which secured back-to-back World Cup qualification for the first time, Senegal, Sweden and Tunisia. And Pot 4 contains Australia, Japan, which has qualified for the last 6 consecutive FIFA World Cups, Morocco, Nigeria, Panama, Saudi Arabia, Serbia and South Korea, which has participated in 9 consecutive World Cups and 10 overall FIFA World Cup tournaments, which is the highest number for any Asian country. And here are some updates now from the world of sports and Sports Beat. Ace Indian shuttler and Olympic silver medalist PV Sindhu entered the quarterfinals of the Hong Kong Super Series tournament. She defeated her Japanese opponent Aya Ori 21-14, 21-17. In the opening round on Wednesday, Sindhu defeated Hong Kong's Leung Yet Yi 21-18, 21-10. India are assured of 7 medals in the ongoing AIBA Women's Youth World Championships in Guwahati after 7 women boxers booked their berths in the semi-finals. Ankushita Boro in the 64 kg category, Jyoti Gulia in the 51 kg category, Neetu in 48 kg, Shashi Chopra in 57 kg and Shakshi Chowdhury in the 54 kg weight category won their respective quarter-final bouts to join Neha Yadav and Anupama, who have already secured berths in the last four. A former team doctor for the US Olympic gymnastics team pleaded guilty to 7 counts of sexual assault on minors. Dr. Larry Nassar will face a minimum of 25 years in prison. On Tuesday, 3-time Olympic gold medalist Gabby Douglas said she was also sexually abused by Nassar. According to reports, more than 130 women filed civil lawsuits alleging that Nassar sexually abused them. Well, that's it on this newscast. Good night.